All right. Hello, everyone. And welcome to another stream. Today, I'm going to be chatting about, what my thoughts were on my reading year in 2018 and what my goals were a little bit, and hi Judith, and just like, I don't know, in general, what my reading thoughts were, what the standouts were, what some like disappointments were, a little bit of stats, and just general chatting as well. But I did want to say, and maybe I should wait for people to be in here. It doesn't even say that it says that there's 0 people watching. Yeah, I've already had a hello, so I know that's not true. But okay. Now it says there's 2 people watching. I wanted to just start off saying, and I'll mention it again, that today at 5 p.m. Eastern, I will be doing another live stream. It wasn't saying that you counted. I think you count. But the analytics weren't showing me that there was anyone here at all. Just rude. I do want to say I'm doing another live stream at 5 p.m. Eastern on my channel. It will probably only be about half an hour to an hour, and I'm going to be doing it with the gals who are hosting the Artemis Fowl read along with me. And so the first book we're going to be reading this month, and before we actually read the books, it literally says there's only 1 person watching, so it must be you. I'm just telling Judith that there's going to be another live stream today. It's going to be with Kara and with Taylor and me. It's going to be here, and we're going to chat about our feelings on the Artemis Fowl series and why we love it, and our experiences with it, and etc. when we first read it, like things, how many times we read it, just like general Artemis Fowl chatting before any of us actually reread the books this time around. So that's a thing. It's gonna be super fun. And hi Bruna. So I'll probably reiterate that when like more people are here. Literally last week I did my stream at like noon or 1 specifically so that you could come, and then you messaged after saying like, I missed this, how did I miss this? And I was like, dang it. So I don't know if you have a Twitter, but I feel like I need to tweet you every time I'm like, specifically whenever I have like a midday stream, because I like doing it around this time so you can come. But I was like, dang it, what a waste. Except for not. It was still a really good stream, but yeah, I feel like I need to message you specifically and be like, just so you know, I'm going live now. Alright. I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of things I want to share. Oh, 5 people are here now. Okay. But I kind of want to wait till like more people are in, so like the least amount of people like miss stuff as I'm saying things. But I found out some really freaking cool things. Do you have a Twitter? Just tweet me or Voxer me if you have a Voxer, and I will message you. I found out some really cool things about Goodreads yesterday that I didn't know. I feel like, I don't know, I really like doing like these weekly reading wrap-ups and stuff, and I'm definitely gonna do that today as part of it. I feel like today's gonna be a very long stream, just be warned, because I feel like I have so much to talk about. I'm very pleased with how my reading is going so far this month, like very pleased, and I have a lot of things I want to say, and so I feel like today's stream is gonna be like so long. So grab some snacks, buckle in. It's gonna be a long one, and then I'll stop, and then I'll just immediately start again. It's fine. Everything's fine. I feel like I should put this right at the front, like beginning, for people who don't know, but anyway, if you are a Goodreads user and a spreadsheet user, I think this will change your life. It's changed my life, and I just found it out yesterday. So if you are on your like Goodreads shelves, if you scroll down to down here, your reading activity and stuff, for tools, you can click import and export. And if you click on that little button, you can click export library, and it will export your entire library into a zip file for you that you can download and then upload into Excel or Google Sheets, which is a wonderful free resource. And I just found out about it. I don't know how I didn't know about this. This is going to be a game changer for me. Gosh, I really don't like how bright this is. Let me just put something on this to hold this over because I'm not here for this. Is that better? I feel like that's better. It's phenomenal. So I did it. This is my Goodreads library export. Let me just copy this over a couple more times too, because I feel like I'm gonna need a lot of tabs today. My mind is blown, right? So this is mine. It takes a long time to do, especially if you have a huge shelf. Because a readathon live stream is happening tonight. I do have another live stream that I'm going to be doing tonight, but I don't think it will go very long. Should I call you Ellie? Should I call you Liz? What do you want me to call you now, by the way? Because I really don't want to call you Liz, because there's 2 Elizabeths, 3 Elizabeths in this stream already, and you make a 4th, and I feel like it's really confusing. What do you want me to call you? I'll call you Liz if you want. I'll call you Ellie if you want, or whatever. Let me know, by the way. You didn't miss anything. I just started, really, and I'll be reiterating the things I said. Okay, so this is the raw file that you end up getting on here. That's not true, actually. I think I moved, like, one thing around. Okay, so, and props out, I think this one was technically over here, and that's the only thing I moved. So props to, oh gosh, what is her name? I just found this YouTube channel. I feel like instead of doing, like, weekly reading wrap-ups every week, I want to just do, like, media wrap-ups every week and talk about what YouTube videos I've really enjoyed, what, call me Ishmael. So many Elizabeth. Just like what, like, movies or YouTube I've enjoyed, or other, like, media or projects I'm working on, or things in general, I think would be better for me, because it's, like, another way to, like, encapsulate the things that I'm loving. So that being said, here are some recommendations for the week. I found this channel that I didn't know before, and I love her. I want her to be my best friend. Don't go watch any of her videos and read the comments, because I've commented on quite a few of them being like, I love you, please be my best friend. Like, I really like her. Her name is Library of Alexia. Is that right? Alexa, sorry. I don't even know what her name is, and I'm obsessed with her. Library of Alexa. She has 800 subs. She's a gem. I've gone through and been watching a few of her videos, and she started 3 months ago. She's great. I want to go back and watch all of her videos, but I just discovered her yesterday. But she ended up doing this, which is the video that she showed how to, like, get your Goodreads TBR and stuff onto a spreadsheet, and it's so cool. I highly recommend watching her. She's my new favorite person. Shout out to her. And why is it just giving me so many recommended videos? What is wrong with you, YouTube? Anyway, and I want her to be my best friend. She's so great. A delight. So she ended up doing it, and then ended up making herself, like, a little what this video is, where she basically did, like, one of those, like, sporting events where you, like, go to find, like, what you're, like, who won or whatever, but she did that with, like, what she's most excited to read, which I've done that before a lot on my own. If you remember last May when I was getting out of a reading slump, I ended up, if you remember like that list of books that I had that I was like, these are the books I'm most interested in at the time, and that's how I did it, except for I manually went through my Goodreads, copied and pasted like it in sets of 100, had to go through and delete all these extra things that I didn't need, like what the average star rating was, and the page count, and stars, and all these things. I had to go through and delete all those, so I just had the title and the author, and then I had no way to like organize it, so it was just like a big jumbled garbage mess, and it was so like tedious, but it was worth it, and I really enjoyed reading off of that list and just pulling off books, and I ended up reading some of my favorite books over the summer this last year by doing that. So it was a great thing that I did, but it was like freaking tedious. Now I know I can just copy and paste it over. So when you end up going to the import and export, and then hit export library, it will download like a zip file for you, and then all you have to do is go into like a Google Sheet, a new Google Sheet, hit file, hit import, and then find that file, click on it, and it will upload this. And this is the raw thing you will get. Okay. You can sort this by many ways. You can sort it by author's first name, by title, by author's last name. I personally don't care about having ISBNs and stuff like that, but if you do, there you go. If I go... I'm trying to think how to like sort this so that it gets all the initial stuff up at the top. Okay. Well, if you do it and you don't like go in and start messing with stuff right away, it will actually tell you what these things mean. But I like started messing with stuff already, so mine is like constantly and forever messed up because of that. But it will let you know like what they mean at the top. Right here it will say like what each of these columns mean. But then you have these, so like this one is number... It's frozen. Anyway, it will say like one of them is like number of, that's like the average star rating. One of them is, hey Katie. Okay, let's just move on from that page for a sec. It will say like what the average star rating is, what the average page count, or what the page count is, so you can go by page count if you want. You can organize it by what shelves you have it on Goodreads. So if you want to, you can actually do this thing. So like, I made this section here for me called Master TBR, and this is every single book on my Goodreads TBR from all of my TBR lists and everything. And how I did that is I took my main TBR, which is frozen right now, and that I'm gonna have to shut down because it's ruining everything. But I took my main Goodreads like thingy. Hi Robin. I took this, and you can end up doing a filter if you want. So if you want to just look at all the books you've rated 5 stars, you can just sort it by like Z to A, and that will put all your 5 stars at the top. Or you can put a filter on. So if I want to see all the books that I have on my red shelf, then you can hit this thing right here, hit create a filter, and then go into here, and these are all my shelves that the books are on. So I can hit to read sequels, fairy tale, all my to read shelves. I can just delete all those and have only my red shelf. And then that will update it. And then now these are all the books that I've read. And it has that updated, which is Yeah, I do miss lists like this manually all the time, and just knowing that Goodreads can do it for me, my mind is blown. So anyway, I'm super thrilled. How you get to this once more, in case anyone missed it, is you just go to your like main Goodreads shelf, just scroll underneath at the bottom of my books, and then under tools you can just hit import and export, and you just hit export library, and it'll give you this like export, and then you can click on that link. It will download it, and then you just go to a blank Google Sheets list. You just hit file, import, and import it, and then you can sort it by a lot of things. You can do filters, you can do that would help with my Kindle TV. Yeah, it's so cool. You can hit filter, you can hit a lot of different things, and it's really awesome. So I did one for myself where I made a copy of my original sheet. I sorted my Goodreads shelves by like my personal star rating from highest to lowest, and then I just highlighted every single book that I've ever rated, and I deleted them. And so what was left on the sheet is just every book on my Goodreads TBR period, which is so cool. When your Goodreads actually has stuff on it. Judith just made a Goodreads, which is super exciting. Her last one she has not touched in years. So she just made a Goodreads, and she literally has only the books that she's read this year on it and the book she's currently reading. So it's completely empty, which is totally fine. It's a nice fresh start. So one good thing about this is that I'm going to, and Judith had this idea, maybe at some point, like maybe over the summer when I'm just being a lot more open with my reading and stuff, or maybe for like a readathon specifically, like a personal readathon where like you guys choose my TBR for like a week or two or something. A master TBR, yeah, it has 3,019 books on it, and that's not including, like, I only put the first books in series on my thing, so yeah, it's a lot of books. But then Judith had the idea that like you guys could give me numbers, and then I could find those books and do it, or I may do stuff like the way that Olive does hers, where she chooses 3 randomly and then picks the most interesting one out of those for herself. And I think the good thing about this is that if you guys don't know how I sort my Goodreads, is I do have like multiple like exclusive shelves. So I have to read sequels, fairy tales, to read 1 through 5, a physical shelf, and then a currently reading and a read shelf. So I have my TBR split up into like 8 different shelves, which is a lot. I know it's a lot, and this just compiles it all into one place, and I can hone it down more than that. So like if I wanted to organize it by something slightly different, like, and only look at my like priority TBR books or whatever, and then you can also just like print this out, and you'll just have this like awesome, incredible list. So anyway, I'm super excited. It's gonna be something I use a lot in the upcoming year. I wish it would be nice if it like uploaded like the #1 genre on it or something as well, but yeah, random number generator, you guys choosing numbers, or there's like a lot of things you could do with this. In that case, I would just choose like the next book I need to read in that series, though, is how I would do it. But yeah, this is really cool. I'm super excited I found this, and I found this meaning like I totally found this on my own. I'm super excited that I found Library of Alexa, who found this and did this and is amazing. So anyway, that's something I want to say. Also, while people are here, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that tonight, on my channel at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So in 4 hours from now, I'm going to be doing a live show with Taylor and with Kara, and we're going to be talking about our feelings on Artemis Fowl series and why we love it and what our favorite books in the series are and how many times we read it and just like general Artemis Fowl feelings. It's going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And we're going to be chatting about that to like kind of kick off the readathon, and then we're going to have a live show towards the end of the month, probably in the last week of the month, talking about, or the very beginning of February, talking about the first book. Let's see. They got married today. That's brilliant. Oh, it will not be spoilery at all. Not even a little bit. I think Chris has headphones on, otherwise I'd yell for him to come please get me some water. Oh, that's okay, don't worry about it. It's kind of last minute. We decided on it about a week ago, and none of us have like actually made like announcement videos or anything that it's happening, so I just figured I'd mention it today so that y'all know. So I'm super excited. This is gonna be like my favorite thing ever, and I'm definitely gonna utilize this tool a lot this year. It will be glorious. And I don't know. In the future, it means that I can also like go through if you sort this by like date read, I think you can do that. The date that you read it. I think it might actually only sort it by like the I don't know if you can sort it by the date you read it, but if you can, then that would be a really good way for me to be able to like get some kind of stats on my stats last year, because I didn't actually do a spreadsheet last year. I know, I didn't find it. I really wish I'd known about this sooner, because it would have been so amazing. But as soon as I found out about it, I'm like, I must share this with the internet, because I feel like so many people are going to be able to utilize this. I shared it with my sister last night, and I think she's going to be able to like find a way to make this work for her as well, because she's been really wanting to work through her TBR this year, and she feel like she didn't do it enough last year. My sister is like married and has 4 children, and she reads more than I do. Like, she's amazing. And she's like a consistent reader as well, where I'm not at all. Chris!
Yeah?
Do you want to give me some water?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry if that deafened any of you. So, with that being said, and all the wonderfulness of finding out that you can do this, what kind of stuff does my sister read? I don't know, she reads a lot of nonfiction, like a lot of nonfiction, and she'll read like general fiction or historical fiction. She's not a huge fan of like fantasy or sci-fi at all. That's mostly what she reads, but she reads so much. Your cat started eating the corner of your puzzle. Oh no, did you glue your puzzle together yet? Because hopefully she's not like eating the glue. I do. Huh. Okay, so now let's talk about my reading, my experience with 2018, and how my reading year was. You'll be starting your first fantasy series this month. Oh, wow. Congrats. What are you going to be reading? You need to buy some glue. Okay. You're crying so much. Yeah, so actually this month, I think, probably, I don't know, we usually have our discussions on Thursday, so probably like on the 25th, I think, my sisters and I will be getting together and we will be starting our, we will be picking out books and bringing them and figuring out what we're going to be reading this year as like our sister book club. It's my sisters, my mom, and a cousin of mine, and I'm not sure what I'm going to choose yet. I'm thinking of making them read some Georgette Hare with me because I really loved her book that I read last month, Cotillion. So he made it so that you could add 100 publishers this year, though. Do you have the new spreadsheet? Because that's something he specifically said. He's like, you could add in a bajillion publishers now.
That's left back in case I'm looking for it.
Oh, thank you, baby. You're the best. I mean, we've had this book club for several years, but we're starting our new picks for the year. Oh, yay! You're listening. I was going to ask you about that. I'm like, so how's your audiobook listening going? Because I hear so many people be like, oh, audiobooks just don't work for me. And I'm like, but have you really tried? Or have you just, like, sort of tried one book, it didn't work for you, and now you just, like, wrote them completely off? Yeah, I feel like people can make it work. You got the one that gets pinned on Twitter. Okay, because I know he made it, like, more extensive than last year's. Probably not what you want to be hearing, but I did not like that book. The Invisible Library, I thought was boring and pointless. I think I had a cool idea, but it just didn't work for me. I gave it 2 stars. I was so excited. It was one of my, like, super hyped books in 2017. So I read it 2 years ago, and I just, like, was not for me. And you're doing double speed with no problem. That's incredible. So, probably not what you want to hear, but that's my thoughts. Okay. So this is, I didn't totally end up updating this. This only has 327 books out of the books that I read this year. So there's still like, how many books, how many more books than that? Like 40 more books that I need to add on to this, and I don't know if I actually will. I don't know if I care enough to, but I think this gives you like a wide enough variety of like what I ended up reading this year. Fantasy was definitely my number one genre, not including urban fantasy. So with those two together, I read so much fantasy this year. And then I read so much contemporary this year. I've never read this much contemporary before, which is insane. My historical fiction dropped down a lot. I read a lot less historical fiction than I have in the past. I got more into contemporary. And then nonfiction, I read 21. Classics, I read 18. And then science fiction, I read 11. I'm pretty happy with those numbers, except for nonfiction. I wish I had read more nonfiction, just because I really love the nonfiction that I read. So I would like to, I don't know. I think it's too idealistic to say that I would love for 10% of my reading to be nonfiction. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I feel like it's a goal to strive towards, to be like, I would love for, out of every 10 books that I read, for one of them to be nonfiction. I think would be great. I don't think it's realistic, but with considering how much fiction I read, but I love nonfiction and I want to read more. So besides that, I'm pretty gosh darn happy with what I read this year. Genre wise, let's see. Yeah, that's what I do as well. I just raise the speed gradually. It only has tour and you can't add to it. Did you make a copy for yourself? I'm sorry. I'm probably asking dumb questions. You're like, yeah, of course I did. Yeah, I don't do 3 times speed that often, but I have done it before. Yes, all the audiobook listening. As far as my adult, young adult, middle grade, and kids, 170 adult, 23 young adult, 92 middle grade, and 42 kids. That kids number went way up because I'm pretty sure I read like 25 kids books at the end of the year to like bump my rating up, and because I just really wanted to read them. And so that went a lot higher. But in general, I don't know, I feel like I read a lot more young adult than I thought I did. But overall, I'm okay with that because I do want to start working through some of like the more like popular young adult series, especially popular young adult fairy tale retellings. So I'm actually fine with that number, and I'm pretty happy with that. This is where it gets wild. I had 68 5-star reads this year. 68! Can you believe it? This is incredible. If you guys remember, like, over the last couple of years, I was struggling. I was barely giving 5-star ratings to anything. Like, one out of, like, every 50 books is, like, a 5-star for me. I think I've just been reading so much more, like, books that I'm, like, just so excited to read. And I also reread a lot this year, so I think about half of that number, I think actually exactly roughly half of that number were rereads. But even then, like, I still found, like, 35 new books that I really, really loved this year. And I don't know, so I think some other people, when they rate, which is like fine, to each their own, but I feel like some people, when they give a book 5 stars, they don't necessarily mean that that book is a new quote unquote like all-time favorite. If I rate a book 5 stars, it is a new all-time favorite. I love that book. I will read it over and over again. It like added to my life, and I didn't have anything wrong with it, or the things I did have wrong with it were so negligible or outweighed by other stuff that it was like worth it. So the fact that I found so many this year, which is definitely like boosted by the fact that I reread so many books, and that I just read so much more this year than I ever have in the past. But I'm just very happy with that number. With 85 5-star reads, and I feel like that's more like on par with like what other people do, where they find 5 stars more easily. But going back, and if you go back and look at my Goodreads from the past few years, like in 2014, I gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new to me books 5 stars. And then in 2015, I gave 1, 2, 3, 4. I gave 4 books 5 stars that were new to me. All of these were like rereads or weren't 5 stars at the time, and they are now 5 stars. You read 13 books this year, and 2 were 5 stars. That's a really good stat, though, in my mind. And then 2016, look at how many 5 stars I gave out. Reread, so that was new to me. Reread, new to me, reread, reread, etc., etc., etc. You get the point. 3 5 stars in 2016. Like, what is that garbage stat? It's like, that's so bad. Like, nothing. And then in 2017, I gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 17 new to me books out of 200, which is like still like not that great. Like, it's pretty good, but not that great. And half of those were children's picture books. And then this year, and then in 2018, last year, I gave so many books 5 stars. Like, 35? Like, that's incredible. I'm so pleased with that. And they are all, like, all-time favorites. Like, I love them. I will recommend them. I want to own them all. I will reread them all. They make me so happy and excited. All of them just, like, I thought about a lot and I really, really loved. Like, I'm thrilled. I also gave out more 4 stars than 3 stars, which is, like, also unheard of. Like, when have I ever done that? Like, usually they're about tied, but normally I give out more 3 stars, I feel like, or in my head I do. Maybe I do give out more 4s than I think. But, like, they're normally super tied, and they are tied this year, but, like, the fact that I had so many 5 stars, like, really, like, balances that out for me. And then, if we look at my 1 stars, I did leave 1 book unrated this year that I marked as read because it just wasn't for me and I didn't feel right rating it. It was like a choose your own adventure book. But out of my 1 stars, DNF, 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 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 of the books that I gave 1 star to this year were DNFs, which I'm so happy about. You read 170. Sorry, I think I missed conversation. Yeah, like almost a third. Let's see. That's awesome that you read a lot of 5 stars, Lippy, as well. I love rereading. Rereading is my favorite thing. Yeah, the slow and steadiness, Bruna. Keep at it. That's really incredible. And that's also like why like audiobooks help so much as well. They're just something that you can turn on and you don't have to like set aside reading time, so you're still making progress on books without having to do that like mental thing. Let me see, how many books did I read? How many 1-star boys did I read into? 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44. So 43. And how many did I say? Did I say 28 or 38? Either way, I didn't force myself through a lot of books that I hated, which I'm very pleased with myself because I feel like in the past my average rating was really low, but I was finishing a lot of the books that I hated. And that's just like so garbage and so useless. What a waste of my time. So this year I feel like read a lot more books that I really, really, really loved, and then I didn't read the books that I hated, and so even though my like star rating, my average medium rating for the year is still really low, I enjoyed myself so much more. I'm in the middle of like 4 books right now as well. It's a problem. Oh my gosh, Judith has like messaged me so many times this week being like, so I just started another book, and I'm like, finish what you're reading, stop it. She's in the middle of like 8 books now, and I'm like, calm down. Just fine, she's still finishing some, but I'm being a bad influence on her. I'm like, ooh, this book is really good, and she's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to start it then. Anyway, and then I did rate a lot of books 2 stars, but again, a lot of them I think were DNFs, and then so many 3 and 4 star books this year. I'm just like really happy with my reading in general this year, except for in one regard. Well, 2 regards. One regard is I really want to focus this year. I don't know. So last year, at the beginning of last year, I ended up taking all the books on all of my to-read piles, and I ended up making an on TBR longest shelf. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Never mind. Stop. I ended up making an on TBR the longest shelf. So those are all the books that I gave that I already had on my TBR, and I also went through and I put all the books that were like sequels to series that I had already started on there as well, because I really want to focus on finishing series, and this has always been a huge goal of mine for the past couple years, is finish those series. So I ended up doing that. I ended up making on TBR longest, including sequels. So like if I read the first book, I had 2 through 8 on there, or however long the series is. You're not allowed to start them until you finish some of the books you're already reading. And then I went through that at the end of the year, and I think I might have accidentally deleted a couple off at the end of at the beginning of the year, and then I was like, wait, I should leave them all on this list so I can see. And only about I think around 90 of them were books that I read, which is about a third of my reading, a little bit less than that. Okay, sorry, someone was tweeting me back with something very helpful. Okay, awesome. Ready? Oh, thanks. Thank you, you're the best. I love you. So about a third of the books that I read this year were off of that list, and I feel like that number could be higher. I love you.
See you later. Bye. Hey.
Do I say hi?
Hi. Hello.
He's so cute. I love you.
No. Love you. See you later.
Love you too. Mwah. Bye. I feel like I could do better than like a little bit less than a third. Like I can do better than like 97% of my reading off of my currently existing TBR. Like I do love finding new things and reading new things, but that's like kind of low, I feel like. So I want to work on that more this year as well, and like focus on books that are already on my TBR and series and things that I'm super excited about right now. So people are saying hi. I don't know if you can hear me. So anyway, that's like one regard where I'm not like ridiculously happy about my thing. I would like it to be closer to like maybe like a halfway thing where it's like half of the books that I read within a year are off of my already existing TBR, and then half are like books that I discovered this year, which isn't always like, I don't know, like some of them, like what I read at the end of the year is I went through and I read a ton of the serendipity books, which are like children's picture books that I read all as a kid and I reread as an adult. So I didn't have them on my Goodreads. I had never marked them on my Goodreads, but I'm really glad I read those because I've been wanting to reread them for a long time. Excuse me, I'm just burping so much today. I apologize. Perfect time for 14 people to be here for me to say that. But I don't know, I just feel like that could be better, but it's still like, I knew that I wanted to read those, but I didn't want to have them on my Goodreads, so like that's fine. You turned your whole shelf into a TBR. I think that's a great idea. I went through and I deleted my ratings off of a ton of books, and I'm gonna just count them as TBR books, even though they are rereads. They're gonna be TBR books so that I can reread them and count them so that I can like see if I still love them. So anyway, those are some thoughts that I'm having, but I'm very excited about the ones that I did read, and I read some of my favorite books of the year that were on my TBR at the beginning of the year, and I DNF'd and 2-starred and 1-starred a lot of the books, which is good as well because I got those off. But I found some of my all-time favorite books by reading books that have been sitting on my TBR for a long time. Let me see. So out of all the books that I read this year, as of like around 3 weeks ago, I had completely finished 282 books and DNF'd 45. And then if you take like the picture books out of that, like the 42, I was at like 230 or 240 for completely like finished books, not including like DNFs and picture books, which I think is pretty good as well. I'm happy with that. Hi, Miriam. Train books don't mind getting beat up. Isn't that how it goes, though? Oh, I hope I can still access my year-end books. I haven't done that yet this year. Like, I've looked through it myself, but I wanted to be able to access that and go over it on the stream. I think I'm gonna have to Google it. Let's see. Goodreads, my year in books. See your year in books. Okay. So this is definitely skewed because some books were DNFs, so the page count is probably less and stuff. But I read 82,000 pages across 367 books. My longest book was European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman, one of my favorite books of the year. And then my shortest book was 10 pages long because it was a children's board book. My most popular book was a reread of Pride and Prejudice. Least popular was Sleeping Beauty, the only book, the one that I've only ever read. And then 3.2 stars is my average rating, which is like technically low, but considering how many of my 1 stars I DNF'd, I'm actually okay with that number. Highest rated book is Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History, which I loved and gave 5 stars, so it makes sense. And then I have to scroll down and then show more of my books, and then scroll down again, and then show more of my books as well. And then if I scroll down again, I just have to hit show more of my books, and then I can scroll down again, and then that's it. So I've read a lot of books this year. And I beat my reading goal. So my reading goal at the beginning of 2018, I said I'm gonna like put it at 100, blah blah blah, and then like 2 months into the year I was like, I'm gonna make it 365, and I like completely flipped and made it crazy. Oh, I missed stuff. I missed stuff. Hi, Lizzie. Oh, well, thanks for popping in here rather than filming. We appreciate. Yeah, I don't know. I think they should leave that thing up. I feel like as soon as they put up the Goodreads reading goal for the next year, then they take off the previous year's My Year in Books, which is kind of stupid because I don't feel like you should do a My Year in Books until the year is over, right? Is that just me? I'll tweet this out though. That's me. Okay, perfect. So I'll tweet that out if anyone wants to see it. But yeah. Now let's go over some of my highlights for the year. But before that, a quick intermission because I have to go to the restroom. Okay. Alright. Mike, what is an interesting page to leave you on? Is there an interesting page? There, you can spoil yourself with my highlights and disappointments. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but thank you. We appreciate very much. We, the royal we. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just reiterating really quickly. Oh, Lizzie already left. Well, bye. Bye, Lizzie. Reiterating really quickly, I'm going to be doing another live stream today at 5 p.m. Eastern. Wow, I forgot what time it is. 5 p.m. Eastern here on this channel, talking about our feelings on Artemis Fowl. It's going to be totally non-spoilery, just like prepping up for the Artemis Fowl read-along all year long. So reminder of that, and when the live stream is over, remember to go back to the beginning. You can find the section where I talk about how you can upload your Goodreads, TBR, and read books and everything up onto a Google Sheet, and you can sort it on there, and it's amazing. So, by the way, those are things that are available. Ooh. There we go. I don't know if this is going to help or make things worse. Okay, let's start with the lowlights of the year, because I feel like we should save the best for the last, and I know some people don't like hearing like people gripe on books and like what my least favorite books are and things like that. But I figured it's not even just like what the most garbage books are, but like maybe what was like most disappointing to me personally. So they don't even have to be like necessarily like 1-star books, but just books that I was like super excited for and then just like really, really let down by. One of the first things would definitely be the last couple books that I've read in the Fandom Hearts series by Kathy Yardley. I really loved the first 3 books, and then book 4 and the 4.5 were garbage and I hated them. And now I'm so conflicted about book 5. I'm gonna read it anyway, but like I've been so disappointed in the last 2. Another one is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I really, really wanted to love that book, and I was so excited, and so many of my friends rated it 5 stars right before I read it, and I was like, yes, this is gonna be great. And then I started it, and I hated it so much I couldn't even finish it. I really didn't like the characters. I didn't like anything about it. So that was crushingly disappointing. Another one was Sweet Dreams by Kristen Ashley. I was so excited to read this. It's like a fat protagonist. She's like in her 40s and I think she's divorced, and I was like super excited, and she has like a Buddha belly, and like it was just like so, like I was so excited, and then it just turned into a garbage show. You can read my Goodreads review on that one if you want, but I was so upset, and I DNF'd it 50% through. It made me furious. The Boxcar Children is a really racist series, and I was really sad about books 2 and 3 in that series. I had some hard times with some Lisa Kleypas books this year, as you can see. Then Came You and Somewhere I'll Find You and Stranger in My Arms. Lisa Kleypas's older books have been letting me down majorly. They're super like rapey and gross and assaulty, and it's just like, oh, no thank you. What are some more books I was like super duper excited for and then just like crushingly let down by? Jill Shalvis, her Animal Magnetism series. I loved the first 2 books, and then books 3, 4, and 5 were like sexist, horrible men. So no thanks. If you saw my reading vlog that went up today, that just went up very recently, I think I ended up talking about the 5th book on that and how the guy, like what he says about women, and he's just like derogatory and terrible, and I just don't like the men in those series anymore, so I'm gonna DNF that series. I was very disappointed. This one, An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. It's a Cinderella retelling. The first like third of it is brilliant. I really, really like the first third and how the Cinderella story is set up and all this stuff. I was so excited, and then it was terrible. The main guy is horrible, the way he treats her and thinks about her, and he doesn't respect her, and he like keeps trying to make her be his mistress, and she's like, I don't want to be your mistress. I would hate to have a child with you and to like be born out of wedlock and have all these horrible like strife their whole life. She's like, I don't want to be your mistress. I don't want to have sex with you. And he's like, be my mistress, be my mistress, and like constantly berating her, and like, ugh, I hated it so much. I was furious when I read it. I'm still super salty about that. I was so excited because I really like book 3. I really like book 2 and book 4 in the Bridgerton series, but book 3 is garbage. And I was so disappointed. Let me see if there's any more that I thought would be really good. Same thing about That Night by Julie James. I really like the first 2 books in this series. They both got 4 stars from me. And then About That Night is just, I really hate the main guy, and he just has such horrible thoughts about women. Like, why would I want to read about that? Overseas Under Stone. I was really excited. It's like an Arthurian retelling, modern day, all this greatness, and then it was just like really not good at all. Like, I hated every moment of reading that book. Flying Too High by Carrie Greenwood, the second book in the Franny Fisher series. The first book is great. I love the first book, and I love the TV series, the Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. And then book 2, slight spoilers here. I guess spoilers here for the series. I'm not for the series, just for particularly for Flying Too High. Why I personally hated this book so much is Phryne, who she ends up, so her client comes to her and asks her for help and stuff, so she's helping her client, and then she ends up knowingly and very awarely that her client is dating this guy, is engaged to this guy. She sleeps with her client's fiance. So not only are you just like a scummy person for sleeping with their fiance, but it's also her client, so she's stupid. And it made me so mad. And there's like no repercussions from it at all. The client's just like, okay, and then she like marries him anyway. I guess it's like an open relationship. Like, I hated it so much. Like, I'm just gonna pretend Phryne Fisher number 2 doesn't exist. I'm gonna go on and read the 3rd book, and if I hate it as well, I'm never touching another book in the series. Because, like, ugh, so scummy and so skeevy and ugh. So those were all, like, my 1-star books that, like, really crushingly disappointed me. The Dragonette Prophecy, I was really excited. It has such good ratings, and I've heard so many good things about it. I just really, really hated the writing. It wasn't for me. I ended up DNFing. The Kiss Quotient I heard so much good things about, and I just really didn't like it. Kind of skeeved me out a lot. Ooh, here's a good one. A Tale of Beauty and Beast. A retelling of Beauty and the Beast by Melanie Sellier. This was like one of my most excited books because I read the first book in the series, which is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and I loved it. I loved it so much. Really strong female characters and relationships. So many wonderful female relationships. Just like really great friendships and women supporting each other and helping each other and looking out for each other. They all have each other's backs and are just incredible. And then, oh, it's snowing outside. That's lovely. Just like so much good stuff in the first one, and the second one is literally just the Disney movie Beauty and the Beast, but like super bad. But it's so unoriginal. The first book in the series was so original, like blew my mind as a fairy tale retelling. It was really original and really interesting, and this one was just so unoriginal and so disappointing. I can't. Other Miss Bridgerton, I was one of my most hyped books for the year. I pre-ordered it like 6 months before release date. I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, and it was so lackluster, boring. I didn't like the way that he treated women, and I just The Search for the Red Dragon by James A. Owen. I love the first book in the series, and the second book was just so disappointing. Like, so many disappointing books this year. The Kiss of the Spindle, again, just like the guy not respecting the woman's wishes and thinking that he knows better than her, and then her just being like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, what? No. Let me see. There's any others that just like really, really ground my gears. I don't know. I had such high hopes for next year in Havana. I had such high hopes. I listened to an interview with the author, like, I don't know. I feel like I was one of the people that jumped on this book, like, really early, like, before the hype. I listened to an interview with the author before the book was even published, and I was so excited. I requested it from my library the second they had it. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then the book was, like, crushingly disappointing. It was not for me. I reread When Beauty Tamed the Beast, which I really, really adored the first time I read it, and on a reread, it didn't hold up, and I didn't like it. So sad. Let's see. More just really disappointing books that I had high hopes for. Let's see. Another one would definitely be Cinder by Marissa Mayer. Not Marr. Marissa Mayer is a different author. Marissa Mayer. I had such high hopes for that book, and I really liked the first half, and then the second half was just like what? Really? That's so stupid. And I didn't like it. And I was super disappointed by the second half. And I ended up giving it 3 stars, but it's honestly more like a 2.5, and I rounded it up to be generous. It's probably more like a 2-star book the more I think about it. I was just like really disappointed by that book, unfortunately. Now let's talk about some of my highlights. Every book that I rate 5 stars is like an all-time favorite of mine. Like, I love it so much. You told me not to get too hyped on Cinder. I know, but I couldn't help it. Everyone was like, this is such a great retelling. This is such a great retelling. It wasn't a very great retelling. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't amazing. Oh, we have to go get groceries. Oh, bye, Ishmael. Good having you. Have fun shopping. You should do my grocery shopping too. So some 5-star reads. Let's just start at the top and work my way down. I reread Betsy Tacy this year, by Maud Hart Lovelace, and I adored it. This was one of my favorite books growing up, and I was like really afraid that it wouldn't hold up. But it's just about these 2 little girls becoming friends and playing with each other, and it is precious. I adore it so much. I thought there's no way I could love it as much as I did as a kid, and I did. I loved every second of it. Adorable. Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett. Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. There's one thing that really didn't sit well with me about it. There's like one scene, probably like 3/4 of the way through the book, that like literally takes place over like 1 paragraph that really, really doesn't sit well with me. But I love the rest of the book so much that I'm gonna like ignore this like thing that really irritated me. I just feel like it could have gotten taken out and it would have been better. So anyway, but besides that, I really, really loved Equal Rights. It's like so poignant for me. It's so it's called Equal Rights, and it is called that for a good reason. It's about a girl who ends up getting like wizard powers, magician powers, even though she's a female, and women can't be wizards. Women cannot be wizards. Women can't be wizards. Why? They just can't. And it was such a strong allegory for like life and women, and how we can't do anything for no good reason, just we can't. And it really resonated with me in so many levels, and I just loved her. Esk is one of my like favorite characters ever. I love Esk. I love the staff. I love Granny Weatherwax. I just loved the cast of characters. They were incredible. I really like the first 2 books in the Discworld series. I really do, and I definitely like recommend them. But this one was on a whole nother level for me, and it is a separate arc. The first 2 books are like different, and then the third one starts a new arc and stuff. There's a ton of arcs within Discworld. Look it up if you're confused. But if you did want to start at this place, I think it's a perfectly reasonable starting place, and most people actually recommend starting with Equal Rights, and I could second that. I personally am really glad I read the first 2, because there are things that tie in and cross over, and I really, really love like Rincewind, and I love the chest and that other guy and stuff. I really love the cast of characters from the first 2, and I'm so glad I've read them. But this is a good place to start if you are feeling daunted by this huge series. I loved this book so much. I loved my reread of Pride and Prejudice. I reread A Christmas Carol. Every time I read A Christmas Carol, I'm like, it can't be as good as I remember, right? And then I read it and I'm like, it's as good as I remember. It's so funny. Charles Dickens just, I don't know, in this book in particular, he just has a way with words, and I laugh hysterically the whole way through. I reread Landline, which I adored. I loved it the first time I read it, and I was like, I wondered if I would love it as much, and I did. So many people I've seen like saying that they like love it because they can like relate to it with their own relationship, and I feel like totally the opposite. I don't relate to it with my relationship with Christopher whatsoever, but I just really love it, and it feels like I just love the dialogue in it and everything. I read The Secret Diary of Lizzie Bennet, and it just like added layers to the show. I adored it. It was so fun. The Bollywood Bride by Sonali Dev. A Change of Heart by Sonali Dev was the first romance book that I ever rated 5 stars. I loved it. And oh, hi Melody. Why are you at work on Sunday? Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. A Change of Heart was actually the 3rd book in the series, and then I went back and read the Bollywood Bride after it. I love them both. I feel like, personally, the way that I read it with the 3rd one, I read the first one, and then I read the 3rd one, the 2nd one, then the 4th one. I feel like the way I read it worked really well for me. Split up over time, especially like wait in between doing that. But it made me be able to handle the 3rd one. Because if I'd read the 2nd one, and then if I'd read the 3rd one, I think I would have been really mad, and I maybe wouldn't have been able to like push myself past the first chapter or 2, because I think I would have been really pissed off by how it starts and how it's related to the 2nd one. But so if you want to read it in that way, I really recommend. But if you want to read them in order, that's fine too. They're both phenomenal. I love them. Sonali Dev can do like no wrong in my eyes, and I'm so excited. Her next book is called Pride and Prejudice, and oh gosh, what is it called? Pride and Prejudice and something, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. Pride and Prejudice and Other Flavors. Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. Oh, I'm so excited, Sonali Dev. I can't wait for your next book. You're a goddess. She's great. So, I reread part of the Chronicles of Narnia this year, and I had so much fun doing it. You can see that in my latest reading vlog. I reread almost the whole Yotsuba series this year. I just need to reread the last I need to reread 11, 12, and then read 13 for the first time. I'd rather be reading by Anne Bogle. I've never related to a book so much in my whole life. If you are a reader, hi Sabrina! If you are a reader and you love books, you have to read I'd Rather Be Reading. The way that she talks about books and her relationship with it, how it shaped her life and the life of her children and the people around her, and when she first got married, she lived right next to a library, and how that like saved her. Honestly, I loved it. I read this book, and then I read it again the next day. It's incredible. Please read I'd Rather Be Reading by Anne Bogle. Please, please, please. It is amazing. Pearl by Idle Molly is just an adorable, beautiful children's picture book that's... it just made my heart go pitter-pat. I loved it. Giraffe Problems by John Jory. Jory John is a new favorite children's book author of mine. I adore him, and I want to read everything he's ever written now. He's so funny. He's so funny. I reread the first couple books in the Artemis Fowl series. I'll be rereading the whole series this year, but I love them, of course. The Importance of Being Earnest, I hadn't read in a long time. Honestly, I might have only ever seen like it performed before. I know I've seen it performed live, I've seen the movie, etc., etc. So I was like, I need to reread that this year and like see what I think of it. It's so funny. It's a satire and it's hysterical. I loved every second of it. Oscar Wilde, the way he phrases things, I was like peeing myself while listening to this audiobook. It was so funny. It was so funny. I loved it. The Hating Game. I don't know. I really, really, really love the writing in The Hating Game. I don't know. It's like a nice comfort read, but I feel like the last time I read it, it kind of like brought down my enjoyment of it, because I like noticed like problems with the relationship more. I don't know. let's just not talk about this one right now. I do really love this book, though. But I have a little bit of sour feelings towards it right now, which is like, don't kill me. I do really love this book, but I was, I reread it last month, and I'm just still feeling like a little weird about it. Our live video is always around this time on Sundays. They're not. I do them kind of sporadically, like whenever I have time, and I don't know. I do it like based off of when certain people can like watch as well, so I like doing it around noon. But I know when in a couple months when Chris finishes Kingdom Hearts, he's going to be actually streaming on Sundays around this time, so I won't be able to. So I don't know when things are going to happen in the future. Maybe I'll move them to like Saturday nights instead or something, but I usually plan like the day or two before of like when I think I want to go live. And so I had this plan that I wanted to go live around this time. You can always ask if you have questions for sure, but I like doing it around the... Excuse me, I've been burping so much during the stream, I apologize. I do like going live around this time though, because it means that Bruna can come. So, if it works for you, then there's like 2 people motivating me to want to do it around this time. It ends with us by Colleen Hoover. You're watching from Germany and it's evening here. See, that's a good motivator for me. And like I know that like Miriam can stop by sometimes. So like there's people that I know can stop around these times. So that makes it like more like, oh, I want to do it around noon than EST. It ends with us by Colleen Hoover. This book could have gone 2 totally different ways. Like literally to like the last like 10% of the book, the last like 1% of the book, I was not sure if I was going to love it or hate it. It could have gone drastically 2 different ways for me, but I loved it. And the author's note at the end and everything made me cry. This book, content warnings for abuse and domestic abuse, and I'm sure like a ton of different things. I'm not like the best person for like catching content warnings, but just be aware of those. But oh my gosh, this book like killed me. I loved it, which is really funny because the week before I read this one, I read Slammed by Colleen Hoover and I gave it 2 stars. My friend was like, read It Ends With This, it's my favorite by her, and I was like, okay, and I read it and I loved it. It was super compelling as well. Corsets and Codpieces by Karen Bowen. I had so much fun with this. I know a lot of people don't like this book. I adored it. I thought it was so fun, and she just talks about fashion over a social history of outrageous fashion, and it was lovely, in my opinion. Jory John, again, Penguin Problems is my favorite book I read by him out of the 2. I love it. Christopher prefers Giraffe Problems. I prefer Penguin Problems. They're hysterical. If you like children's picture books, please do yourself a favor and pick these 2 up because they are incredible. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I would say this is probably my #1 read of the whole year. If I could only choose one book that is my absolute all-time favorite for the year, it'd probably be Spinning Silver. I love this book so much. It's so good. Super feminist. It's incredible retelling. The atmosphere is so crazy intense. Like, oh, so incredible. I've sung the praises of this book so much, but please read this book if you haven't. Narwhal, Unicorn of the Sea, Narwhal and Jelly series by Ben Clayton. I adore this series. The first one I gave 5 stars, the second one I gave 3 stars, and the third one I gave 4 stars, and the 4th one is coming out like next month or the month after that. I can't wait to get my grubby little paws on it. The illustrations are adorable. The characters are super sweet. I love this series, and they're so hysterical. Another hysterical series is I reread the entire Princess Tales series by Gail Carson Levine this year. They only They're only like 100 pages each. They're very quick reads. You can read them in less than an hour each. But my absolute favorite is Princess Sonora and the Long Sleep. I get a stomachache every time I read this book because I laugh so much. It's a wonderful Sleeping Beauty retelling. All the books in the series are retellings, and they are phenomenal. But this is my favorite. For the first time this year, I finally read the last 2 books in the Enola Holmes series. Thanks to Winx for the Sherlock Holmes readathon that happens every January. Last January, I felt motivated, and I ended up reading like 3, 4, 5, and 6 at the end of January to the beginning of February last year, and I love this series so much. So much. I really, really like the first 3 books in the series, but the last 3 books in the series, especially the last 2, are phenomenal. It's ridiculously feminist and empowering, and I adore them. And I feel like I learned so much while reading the Enola Holmes books as well. Like, Nancy Springer really knows a lot about the time period and puts them in there, but not in like a, wow, this is boring to read. It's like, wow, how did I not know all this stuff? So good. A wonderful, wonderful Snow White retelling is Snow White, a graphic novel by Matt Phelan. I really, really recommend this one as well. It's beautiful. It is brilliant. It's Snow White set in the 1920s, and her dad is like the King of Wall Street. It's set in New York, Jazz Age New York. Her dad's the King of Wall Street, and the wicked stepmother is like the Queen of the Follies, and it was wonderful. The use of color in this is stunning. I loved it so much. I cried. I literally cried like 10 times while reading it. The Perilous Guard by Elizabeth Marie Pope is a retelling of Tam Lin. I was really afraid while rereading this book I wouldn't love it as much, but I loved this. It's like really weird and it has a weird atmosphere, but I adore it. It's a really good fairy story, and I highly recommend. More Yotsuba, more that. If I could choose, my number one probably nonfiction for the year would be The Woman Who Smashed Codes, by Jason Fagon. This is about Elizabeth Smith, I believe her name is, who is a person that ended up breaking the enigma in America. And she was brilliant. Her and her husband, their relationship and everything, and just what she did on her own. They're phenomenal people. They were both code breakers during World War II and were amazing. I really, really recommend this. As my favorite nonfiction of the year, which is hard because closely followed by it is From Here to Eternity, Traveling the World to Find the Good Death. I have both of them sitting right here. This is my nonfiction shelf over here. Not this one, this one. And they're both sitting right there, and I'm like, yes, you're amazing. Thank you for existing. The One Who Smashed Codes is like right here, and then From Here to Eternity is right there, like next to it. And they're both amazing books. Please read The Woman Who Smashed Codes. It's so good. But From Here to Eternity, Traveling the World to Find the Good Death. I just love Caitlin Doughty. I love what she's doing, and I feel like this is a good way to... I think this is a good book to start by her, because she just talks about death rituals over the world, and I don't feel like it's as... I don't know, like intense as her first book. But she just like shows how different like cultures celebrate their dead, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Back in the Great Berry Battle, I really loved the Tales of Pixie Hollow series, but this is definitely one of my favorites, and I loved rereading it. I love the arts in these books so much. I read for the first time this year Beezus and Ramona by Beverly Cleary. I can't believe I hadn't read this before. I've read some of her other books. I read like Ellen Tibbis, and I read one of the Henry ones, and I reread Emily's Runaway Imagination so much as a kid, but I never read any of the Ramona books. So Smoke Gets in Your Eyes is incredible. I also have that one sitting right there. But From Here to Eternity, I think is like a better place to start with her books, potentially, especially if you haven't like watched her YouTube videos before. Beezus and Ramona is hysterical, and it has aged so well. over the years. This one was published originally in 1955, and sometimes that can be really bad, but in this case it was really good. I laughed so much through this book. I like my stomach hurt when I finished reading this book. I was just laughing the whole way through. Beezus, I just adore her. She's wonderful. Ramona is such a brat. I don't know, it's just like so good. I recommend highly. I also really love this year the Code Girls. Code Girls, the untold story of the American women code breakers who helped win World War II by Liza Mundy. I actually ended up, I don't know if I own this one. I definitely want to own it, but I don't think I've found it yet. I read this one before I read The Woman Who Smashed Codes, and I feel like it is like a good like introductory into like the subject, and they do mention that let me grab it. Oh. There we go. It is like a good introductory, and they do end up talking about her, Elizabeth Smith, in it. I don't remember her married name, because she ended up meeting a guy and getting married to him and changed her name, but which is why I was like, I think her name is Elizabeth Smith. It is Elizabeth Smith, but I don't remember who she got married to. Anyway, they ended up talking about Elizabeth in the Code Girls, and I read it first, so I knew who she was. So then when I started this one, I was like, I already had an idea of who she was and what she did, but I love this one more personally, but I still really, really love the Code Girls a lot. I mean, I still gave it 5 stars. I still thought it was amazing. What I really, really liked about the Code Girls especially was the fact that the author didn't try to, like, sugarcoat anything. He showed, like, the good sides of the girls and the not so good sides of the girls. And, like, a lot of them were, like, super racist, insensitive, like, not very good people, but they still, like, played a huge part in the war. And I liked being able to, like, see that. And him not sugarcoat her not sugarcoat anything. This one is written by a male author. That one's written by a female author. But not sugarcoat anything. And just, like, kind of give you the facts. I really appreciated that. I also really loved reading Martin Luther by Eric Metaxas. One of my favorite books of the whole year. I read this right at the start of the year, and it was, like, so engaging. He was such a fascinating man. I wish that I had spent more time on his relationship with his wife, because it was kind of just like, oh, he got married and then he died. That's not true. There was, like, a good, like, I feel like they were married for, like, at least a decade or two, and it kind of just, like, skimmed over that in, like, one chapter, and it's like, next thing. That's, like, my one, like, quip with this book, but I still really, really liked it. I really, really recommend the Baby Lit books, the Baby Lit primers. Anne in Green Gables was one of my favorites I read this year. Highly recommend. The second most relatable book I've read all year is Little Moments of Love, by Katana Chetwynd. It's a little collection of, like, comics about little moments of relationships and her relationship with her boyfriend, and it is precious. It is so sweet, and I've never related to something about our relationship so much. I read it and I was like, Chris, and I was laughing through this book, and I would, like, kept taking, like, pictures of it and sending them to him, and him being like, that is us, that is us, that is us, and it's brilliant. I loved it. If you want to see what Christopher's and my relationship is like, read this book, and that's about it. Howl's Moving Castle, I reread this. I reread this every year. I love this book. Ugh, so much. So good. I reread this, like, the 3rd book as well, and I adore them both, but Howl's Moving Castle is just, like, the epitome of a comfort read for me. I do want to read House of Dreams, but I want to finish reading the Anne of Green Gables series first. I've reread the first 2, and I know I need to reread book 3 and continue on. I just haven't yet, but I really want to. I also reread this year The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. This is a retelling mix, like a super feminist, awesome retelling mix of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Frankenstein, The Island of Dr. Moreau, Rappaccini's Daughter, and Sherlock Holmes. I love it, and I love the sequel, which is European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman. I adore them both. They're both phenomenal. I'm actually going to reread The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter this month as well. This will be my third time reading it because I love it so much. I'm so excited to reread it. And then I'm definitely going to reread this one before the third book comes out, hopefully this summer. Oh, so good. So good. And I would recommend reading at least some of the source material before going into The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. And same thing for European Travels for the Monstrous Gentlewoman. I would recommend reading Dracula and Carmilla. Highly recommend. Cotillion by Georgette Hare. I loved this book. My experience reading this book was like, don't think I've ever been so surprised by a book in my whole life. The amount of twists and turns that happen in this book is just like ridiculous. I literally did not know how this book was gonna end until like the last like 5 pages. I was like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? She just loves to throw the twists and turns in this one. I love the characters. Freddie. I'm not one to have like book boyfriends and stuff. But if I was, and I don't really have those feelings towards characters very often. Like, I like the characters, but I wouldn't, like, ever consider, like, ooh, if they were real, I'd date them myself, blah, blah, blah. Like, Henry Tilney from Northanger Abbey is definitely one of those for me. And Freddie from Cotillion is one of them. I love Freddie so much. He's such a sweet little muffin. I want to wrap him up and keep him safe. He's adorable. I read The Gruffalo for the first time this year. It is a wonderful children's book. It's a little bit older. It's like almost 20 years old now. It's so good. I really recommend The Gruffalo if you haven't read it yet. It's good to teach for teaching your children how to think, how to use their mind, how to like be like cunning and smart. It's wonderful. Another one, I reread The Princess and the Goblin this year. The first time I read this book, I read it when I was a kid. I gave it 1 star and I hated it so much. And this year I was like, I need to reread this book. I need to reread this book. I reread it and I loved it. It's one of my favorite books of all time now. I adored it more than anything. It's super feminist and I love the writing style and I just... It's so good. Please read it if you like fantasy. The Stinky Cheese Man by John Sketzia. Sketska. I don't know how to say his name. I should look that up. Super, super funny. Little fairy tale retold children's picture book. Adorable. I really, really recommend. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats and Nim is brilliant children's science fiction that I had never read before. Somehow I'd never read this before. I don't know how. I loved it. I loved it so much. I don't know how this passed me by all these years, but I'm really glad whatever drove me to pick it up. I read it in one sitting and didn't want to put it down the whole time. I was astounded, and I hear that it's very, very different than the movie. I've never seen the movie. I've heard it's very different from the movie. It's pure science fiction, and it's delightful. I reread a lot of the Serendipity books this year by Stephen Cosgrove, and this was definitely the highlight for me. This is like a children's series from like the 80s. The 70s and the 80s. I can go grab my stack right now. Actually, quick intermission. I'm going to go to the bathroom again because I've been drinking so much water, and I'm going to grab my stack of Serendipity books. I will be right back. This will be the year you read Austen. Please do. She's so funny. She's so funny. She's brilliant. For nothing else, read for her writing. Okay, so this is my stack from my childhood, from my sister's childhood, from my siblings' childhood. This is our stack of serendipity books. They are old, they are battered, they are horribly misused, very well loved as a kid. I read these all the time. So many of them are like scribbled on and drawn on and are like horribly tortured books. But we loved the crap out of these. My favorite is down at the bottom, so I'm not going to pull it out with that. My favorite rereading this time was definitely Leo the Lop. It was so funny. It was so cute. Basically, it's this little rabbit named Leo the Lop. And instead of his ears sticking straight up like all the other cute little bunnies, they flop down and they drag on the ground. And so all the other bunnies are laughing at him and making fun of him. And he's like, I don't get it. And then he ends up like seeing himself and he's like, oh, I am really silly looking. So then he like tries to change himself to be normal. And then this like, I think it's like a possum is like sitting in the tree. And she's like, no. How do you know that you're not normal? Like, you are normal. You're normal. And he's like, I am normal. So then he goes tells all the other rabbits, I'm normal. And the other rabbits are like, you are normal. Maybe we're all abnormal. So then they all try to make their ears, like, lay down and go flat. And the possum tells them, like, what are you doing? You're normal, too. And then they, like, look at each other and they're like, well, if we're normal, and if Leo's normal, I guess we're all just normal how we are. And it's just, like, such a good message for kids. Like, not change yourself, and like what you are is normal and it's fine, and it's like it's okay to be how you are and you don't have to change yourself. And it was just like so cute, and the illustrations of all the little bunnies is the cutest thing you'll ever see in your whole life. I recommend, even though I just spoiled the whole plot. Brilliant. I loved it. I also reread Persuasion this year. Brilliant. I loved it. Read Austen. Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. If you want a really quick, lovely nonfiction children's book, I highly recommend. I think it goes over like 40 awesome black women, and it's wonderful. Read more Yotsuba, obviously. I reread this year. I reread the Nina 1011 books by Bruce Coville. These books are so funny. There's definitely some things that haven't like aged great in them, but it's one of those ones where I'm like, I'm willing to overlook it for how much I just purely enjoy and love the characters. I love Nina's relationship with her best friend. I really love Nina's relationship with her dad. I love her as a character. I just like adored rereading these. I definitely love 1 and 3 more than number 2, but I really recommend. And they're some of the first books that I read as a kid, especially the third book that really got me interested in like history and like sparked me on something that I wanted to like go look up and learn more about on my own outside of what the book told me, which I think is really important, and it made me feel the same way as an adult as it did as a kid. I read The Best School Year Ever, book 2 in the Herdman series. I read the first one last year. Oh my gosh, this book is so funny. Again, there's like certain things that haven't like aged super great, but like, and one of those ones I'm like willing to overlook for like how much I just purely love every second that I'm reading these books. Another one of my absolute favorite nonfictions for the year, and my last 5-star read for the year, is The Prodigal Tongue, The Love-Hate Relationship Between American and British English by Lynn Murphy. This book, I mean, maybe it sounds a little boring, but like, I loved it. I ate it up. I read it like so quickly, and I just had so much fun with it. It's such a funny book. And I will have to say that Lynn is very biased on America's behalf. Like, maybe it's not the best thing to read if you're like a British person, but I really enjoyed every second that I read it, and I do really recommend. More highlights. Honestly, if I had reread this year, The Adventure Zone, Here There Be Gerblins, this book would probably be a 5-star read, and I'm definitely going to reread it this year. I got it for Christmas. I will definitely reread it this year. If I had reread it last year, then I would have given it 5 stars. I'll definitely reread it, and I'm sure it will become a 5-star book. It was like a 3.5, 4-star when I read it the first time. Now that I've listened to the Adventure Zone podcast and realize how good of an adaptation it is, it will definitely become like a 5-star all-time favorite for me. I loved it. Another really big highlight of the year for me is A Dance of Silver and Shadow. This is the first book in that series where like the Beauty and the Beast retelling that was so crushingly disappointing. This is the first book, definitely a favorite of mine. I really want to reread this because I loved it so much. Some more favorites. Pink is for Boys was a really cute, inclusive children's book. I really enjoyed the Fey Witch Chronicles. I read the first 2 books this year, and I really, really like her character. I don't remember what her name is, but she is a super great character, and I love reading about her. I read Wives and Daughters this year. I love Elizabeth Gaskell's writing. Another standout for me for the year was rereading Matilda Bone, and then also reading Maggie Swan and Alchemy, or whatever it's called, also by Karen Cushman. I hadn't read that one before, but this one was a reread, and Karen Cushman knows how to do children's historical fiction, like, really well. Like, medieval historical fiction or Renaissance historical fiction. She's brilliant at it. Ocean Meets Sky by Terry Fan. Beautiful, beautiful children's book. Kind of sad. It's about the death of a grandparent, but it's gorgeous and I highly recommend. The whole Princess Tale series I really recommend. And yeah, I mean, I really loved a lot of these books that I gave 4 stars to. I reread The Hobbit this year. It's so funny. Tolkien has a way with words. And what I really love about older fantasy, like something The Hobbit does, something that, like, The Princess and the Goblin does, I just love seeing older fantasy books just, like, there were no rules. There were no, like, acceptable fantasy rules, so they just did whatever the frick they wanted. And it's such an enjoyable experience, and I love it because I love, like, quirky, offbeat fantasy, like why I love Discworld and stuff like that, where it's just, like, totally ridiculous. And, like, something like, there's, like, a paragraph in The Hobbit about, like, how golf was invented, and it's so funny. And it's like, well, of course golf is a thing that people in Middle Earth played. Why wouldn't it be? It's just, like, so ridiculous. And same thing with, like, The Princess and the Goblin. Like, there's a goblin prime minister, and it's like, of course there's a goblin prime minister. Why wouldn't there be in this 1860s historical, like, fantasy, whatever. It's not even historical fantasy, it's just fantasy, but there's the prime minister. It's just so funny. Ooh, I must mention Texas Destiny by Lauren Heath. Beta hero wonderfulness. I've never really read Westerns before, but I really, really love this one, and I really am excited to read the second one. Also, Jennifer Ashley is just a standout of the year for me. I read her for my first book that I read by her at the end of 2017. So in 2018, I read 2 more books from the Mackenzies and McBride series, and then I read 2 books from the Cat Holloway mystery series, and I adored all of them. I really, really like her. She never lets me down. Her writing is great, her characters are great, her situations are great, her research that she puts into her books are great, like, everything, and you can tell that she has, like, a lot of opinions about how things were done in, like, 1901 or whenever, or late 1800s. Like, you can tell she has, like, opinions, and she, like, puts them into her stories, and I think it's very interesting, because a lot of authors, I feel like, just use the historical setting just for their own, like, purpose and don't really explore it. She explores it and has things to say, and it's super interesting. I get the feeling that she wasn't a huge fan of the Queen. but it's interesting. Or even if she doesn't have the opinion, she gives her characters the opinions. It's very interesting. So anyway, I think that's it for like my wrap up on the year of like my thoughts and my feelings. Another standout was A Study in Emerald by Neil Gaiman. Super, super interesting. Sherlock Holmes mixed with Cthulhu. I adored it. I adored the Phantom Hearts series. I adored the first 3 books at least. Frog Kisser was such a good retelling. It wasn't even necessarily a retelling. It was sort of a retelling. It was a very, very interesting. The Frog Prince book, though, highly recommend. There's The Alchemy and Maggie Swan. That's what it was called. Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett is one of the most interesting magic systems I've ever read about. I loved it. Let's see. I really, really enjoyed what I read of the Expanse series so far. I read The Drive, and I read Leviathan Wakes in 2017, and then I read not Babylon's Ashes, whatever the next one is in that series. I read that one this year, and I really liked Caliban's War. I really enjoyed reading The Island of Dr. Moreau. I loved A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I can see that being a 5-star read for me in the future. It's definitely one I'm going to want to reread. I adored it. I finally read The Cuckoo's Calling, and I really liked it. Hearts in Darkness by Laura Kay. If you just want a short, steamy, really emotional but fun romance series, I recommend it. It's a duology. The first book, the audiobook, to give you reference, is around 2.5 hours, and then the second one, the audiobook's around 5 hours, so they're very short. I really, really loved the first one, and I really, really love the second one. Highly recommend. I enjoyed reading Stranger Things Worlds Turned Upside Down. The Will by Kristen Ashley. Her books crush me. Let's see. The Highwaymen was a really good historical romance. Colty also crushed me by Mariana Zapata. Slow burn romance. The Deal I thought was so cute, and I loved their relationship. Yeah. You really liked what one? The Hearts in Darkness? Yeah, so those are my thoughts on 2018, how my reading went. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I would just like to be more consistent this year. And I think setting myself, like, monthly reading goals and being like, well, you don't have to reach it all in, like, this amount of time. Just, like, reach your monthly reading goal, and that's good, and you've done enough. And I think that will help me be consistent within each month, capsulated. Okay, so there's an overview of my books. Now let's talk about my plans for this week. Excuse all my burps. I apologize. It's not like I just ate either. I ate a little while ago, so I haven't even touched this reading spreadsheet yet. Let's see. My reading goal is going to be 150 books. How many books do I usually read in a month? Probably around 15. I don't know. My TBR pile. I don't know. A lot. I'm not going to even put that in. Monthly budget. Let's put at 50. Library card fee is 0. Okay. I don't want to have nonfiction as a genre. Delete. Based off of what I read last year, let's make fantasy my #1 genre. Then let's make urban fantasy, just because I do want to differentiate them. And then let's do contemporary. Let's do... I didn't check mystery last year, but I think I should. Let's see, what was next? Fantasy, contemporary, let's do historical fiction. Oh. Is the font different? No, it's not. Okay. Let's do historical fiction. Let's do nonfiction, science fiction. What am I missing? Science fiction, urban fantasy. Oh, classics. Let's pop classics in. Let's be ambitious and put it in front of nonfiction. I don't know. I want to bump up both of those next year. See if I can add publishers. Okay. That's definitely one thing that I've never used. Tor. What's a publisher? Penguin Random House. I think it worked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Well, the thing is, my TBR pile, I don't really track my TBR. That's the thing, is that, like, Chris and I buy all of our books secondhand, so I buy a ton of books I'm not necessarily intending on reading right away, and I read primarily from the library, but, so I don't really know how to track my TBR. Like, do I track just, like, general books that I want to read, because then it's, like, every book in the whole world, essentially? Like, do I stick 3,000 books in there then, or do I stick just the physical books, but that's not what I'm reading primarily, or like I don't know how to track it, so I just like choose not to track it at all. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's not something, it's not like a stat that I feel like I need. But for $50, I don't know. It's probably not gonna be that high. Really. Chris and I, so we each have, I have my Audible that I spend money on every month. So I spend about $30 on Audible every month. And then if they have sales, I might spend a little bit more. And then maybe I'll buy like a little bit here or there. So like most of that money is dedicated to Audible. Yeah, you have to do it under the categories. And that's why I'm adding these in right now. And then I'm going to do mystery this year. I didn't track mystery last year, but I want to do it this year. Exciting announcement. I don't know if this is totally going to happen, but what's her face? Claire. Claire Russo, and ended up doing a video a couple days ago. Here, I'll look it up so that you guys can see it. Yes, this one. So she's doing, she's doing this thing called like the bookish blanket, and she has all these different like genres, and she's gonna crochet these little squares, and I think I'm gonna try to do that this year. I thought about doing it in a way where there's like 3 sections to well, they're not squares, they're hexagons. There's 3 sections to each hexagon, and I was thinking, should I track like one of the things be like adult middle grade or adult middle grade YA or kids, and then the next section be like how long was the book, between this amount of pages, this amount of pages, and this amount of pages, and then the last one be like genre. But I just figured that was too complicated. I haven't crocheted in I don't know, nearly 10 years. It's been a while. I used to love crocheting and knitting as a kid. I loved knitting as a kid, but I was never like did anything super interesting. I feel like I can crochet a granny square though. So Chris and I actually went to the store and we bought some yarn, and I'm going to try to make one of these blankets over 8 different like colors as 8 different genres, and that's what I'm going to do this year. So that's my plan. Hopefully it goes well. You don't truly keep track either. What's the point? You love all the books. Give me all the books. Might try to find a knitting pattern that will compare. And like I think I like knitting more, but I feel like in the case of this, it will be easier to crochet them. So I figured like one for each book would be really fun, especially since, if you guys aren't aware, Christopher is doing video game live streaming 4 times a week at this point, and I think it will go down to 3 times a week in the future. But he's doing 4 times a week video game live streaming, and I'm there for each stream for the whole stream. And so I'm spending 10 to 15, 16 hours every week just watching this live stream. So I think it would be like a good like project to have where like I'm like, oh, I don't really have anything to do, so I'm just gonna like sit here and like interact and chat, but what am I gonna do when there's no interacting to be done? Like, I can crochet, and I think that'll be fun. So we bought some needles, we bought some hooks, we bought some 8 different colors of yarn, and I'm so excited, I can't wait. So I've been thinking about it. If any of you guys watch Sarah from Steeped in Books, I really, really love her channel. She's one of my favorite booktube channels, honestly. I just adore watching her channel. She, every week for her weekly reading vlog, she ends up showing like what she's been knitting the past week and updating it, and especially over Christmas she added like a square to a blanket that she's knitting every week. Not every week, every day for the whole month of December and stuff, and I was just like, that just seems like so much fun. I want to do it, and it inspired me. I've been thinking about it for a few months of picking up knitting or crocheting again. I'm deciding to go with crocheting. Hopefully I'm okay at it. I need to like start practicing today or tomorrow, and I'll probably be behind or so for like the first month, but it's also something I can do when I get home from work. I can listen to an audiobook and I can sit here and like crochet little hexagons, and hopefully it doesn't take too long to make each one. So that's my plan. Totally 100% inspired by Claire. Like, not the crocheting itself. I had that thought. I'm like, I really want to start crocheting again. And then she posted this video and I'm like, that's what I'm going to crochet. It's going to happen. So hopefully this doesn't backfire too terribly. But then I think in my reading spreadsheet for like Brock's reading spreadsheet, I think I'm going to add on the book survey, I think at the end I'm going to add I can add something that says, well, I don't need all of these. I'm definitely going to hide some of these. But I think I'm going to add one at the end that says, like, is it crocheted yet? And then I can, like, keep track of, like, which ones I've crocheted by saying, like, did I crochet it? And that's my goal. And another one of the reasons why I want to use a spreadsheet this year. Mystery, so 2, 4, 6, 8. And I bought 8 colors. I pretty much read 8 genres. Well, romance is technically a genre that I don't count because I split it up into the other categories. It's like 9 genres, but that's fine. You should crochet. We should do crocheting and listening to audiobook sprints together. It'd be delightful. And then I don't know if I really care about tracking acquisitions. I don't know. This year, basically, Chris and I, this is the 8 times that we spent money on books and when we went out and bought books. The Book Barn we went to once in February. We're going this month in January, actually. We're going to go to the Book Barn for their annual 30% off sale. We went to the Book Barn. I think we went to Savers like 2 or 3 times when they were having like Memorial Day sale and stuff like that. And then we physically bought books for each other for Christmas time from What's Their Faces, from like my bookstore and stuff, and for like birthdays and stuff we did that a few times. And then Audible books, and I think that's all the times we like spent money on books this year. It's not like we like buy books like sporadically and like consistently throughout the year. Like we'll just like do a few big purchases at once. So normally when we're buying books, like we're at a thrift store and they have a 30% off sale or whatever on it, so we'll buy 30 books and then half of those are like free and then the rest are like discounted and stuff. So like I'm not going to add like 30 books into this list at once. It's just exhausting and I don't care about tracking it. So anyway, I don't think I'm going to use this tab at all, so acquisitions can go to the back. But I'm going to put book survey survey up at the front. I'm going to stick my summary up at the front. My charts up at the front. I don't know what this means. Series tracking, I think, is something I want up at the front. I hope I'm not ruining everything by doing this. Yeah, I don't really think I care about most of these. Personally, so I think I'm just gonna like focus on the ones that I know that I'll use. Oh, well. Crap, why is that not working? No, I didn't want to do that. Did I ruin everything by moving stuff around? No, that didn't help. Why? Oh my gosh. Hi, Elizabeth. Yeah, this is on Brock's Twitter. But I'm not hiding columns. How do... I can't hide these at the bottom. I don't know. Let me go back to the very beginning. Delete everything I just did. So maybe instead do... That's annoying. Fantasy... Do... Fantasy, do... Urban fantasy, do contemporary, do... Oh gosh, what were my categories, you guys? Fantasy, urban fantasy, urban fantasy, contemporary, historical fiction, do classics, do non-fiction, do mystery. Oh no, I want to do science fiction first. Do science fiction. You're welcome. Thanks. Science fiction. Mystery. Did that fix it? Okay, that fixed it. So I maybe don't move anything around. But if I pull my book survey up to the front, my summary up to the front, and my charts up to the front, that shouldn't mess with anything. And same thing with like series tracking. I can pull that up to the front. I think you can pull those around. And I don't care about the credits. I'm in the credits, you guys. Look at me. Look at that name. Giselle Bradley. So exciting. Because I sit in his live streams and I'm like, fix this! Fix this! Okay. So then for book survey, then I can start adding in my books that I've read so far this year. Little exciting. Okay. So. And then we can figure out what I actually want to even be on my book survey. So, I'm definitely going to have to open up Audible to get hours for stuff. Although, I do the way I do track Audible is I can close this now. I don't need this. I can stick the Secret Keeper. Oh. If I move columns around, it will ruin everything, won't it? I don't want the start and finish right here, but okay. I guess I have no option. So the start was December 22nd, and I finished it January 3rd. I don't really care about the start date. All I care about is the finish date. I'm gonna hide this column. Okay, so my finish date was January 3rd, right? I don't know. I'm not gonna enter in stats that I know I'm not gonna use or care about. My status is red. The author was Kate Morton. The gender of the author was female. The protagonist was female. The country that the author's from, she's Australian. I'm like 98% sure she's Australian. Yeah, she's Australian. Okay. The age group is adult. The genre is historical fiction. The length is a novel. The format was audiobook, obviously. The narrator for The Secret Keeper was Caroline Lee. Again, I don't know if I really care about the narrator. I might just hide this column because I don't think I'm ever going to reference it. So technically the audiobook was 20 hours long, but I only listened to 15 hours of it this year. So I'm going to stick 15 because I want to get an accurate representation of what I read this year. It was digital. The book is 484 pages. Although I own the paperback edition, so let me switch to this one and see how long that one is. 496. Okay. 496. The publication year was, I have no idea, 2012. That's what I was thinking. I don't care about publisher at all. I probably should pay attention to this, but I just don't. Hide column. My rating was 5 stars. I freaking loved it. I don't really care. I do most of my reading from the library anyway, so. Hide column. I don't care if it was new or used. Most of them are used. Hide column. Location. What does location mean? Where I picked them up? Oh. I don't care about this. Hide column. Was it part of a series? I can track that. So this one is a standalone. Yeah, I don't care about tracking diversity. Does that make me a bad person? Maybe. Hide column. That's not how I do my reading. And I don't read in multiple languages. I can hide column. You guys are just seeing how terrible person I am. Earth. Was it set on Earth? Is that what that's supposed to mean? Who cares? Hide column. Sorry, Brock must care because he put it in there, but I don't care. Oh gosh, it says I've read it for this many days. Yeah, we can hide that column. TBR. What are my options for this year, previous year, reread? Hide column. And then I don't know. Should I just stick like crocheted or crochet? Is that how you spell crocheted? And then you should change the page count. Oh, you're right, to 392 because that's the amount that I read this year. Brilliant. Thank you for that. I would have forgotten. Okay. That is what I intended to do, and then I was just like, is that how long the book is? Okay, thank you. I'll just go with what you said, 392. Okay, perfect. And then we can see my first book. Yay! Look at my pie chart. Brilliant. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited to be using this spreadsheet again. Alright, so let's go back to Burke's book survey and add in my next book. You enjoy math. You can help yourself. Thank you for that. I would have forgotten, and then it would have ruined everything for the whole year. Mine Till Midnight. Oh, have fun with this one, too. Okay. Mine Till Midnight by Lisa Kleypas. I finished this on the 3rd as well. I read it. Well, technically I DNF'd it. Lisa Kleypas and I are not having a good time. I don't think you see from his point of view at all, so I'm just gonna say female. Whoops, female, but I think she's American. I think she's American. Lisa Kleypas, are you American? Are you United States? Yeah, she's from Texas. It was adult. It was historical fiction. Ooh, lots of historical fiction so far this year. It was a novel. I listened to it on audio. Honestly, I should move audio to be my #1 category. I think I should go do that before I do anything else. The narrator was, I think, Rosalind Landor. Yeah, Rosalind Landor for the narrator. Okay, so this book, I think I need to grab my bullet journal to double check. Or open it up in my daily log. But, so the book is 10 hours long? Okay, so the book is 10 hours long. And I started on hour 3, so there's 2 hours less. And then I ended on hour 7. So I listened to 5 hours of this audiobook. I listened to hour 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I DNF'd it. So I can just cut it in half. That's easy enough math, right? So 376. I can count. I'm sorry for all the burping. I can just cut that in half, which that one's easy. If it was like anything harder than that, I would have been struggling. So I listened to 5 hours. It was a digital, and it was 188 pages. When was this published? 2007, and it was that garbage? Ugh. 1 star! It was started a series. It was book #1. And I did not crochet it. But I did hate it. Let me just make this smaller. Okay. For now. Mine Till Midnight. And then we have Cry Wolf by Patricia Briggs. This one I read the entirety this year, so that's good. Let's pop it in here, because I totally listened to it on... Oh, I just closed my spreadsheet. I'm so stupid. Let's not be dumb. Okay. Cry Wolf. I finished this on the 4th. Finished this January 4th. I read it. It's by Patricia Briggs. Ooh. A female author. Is it only from her point of view? No, it's from both of their point of view. Where is Patricia Briggs from? Montana. All right. Okay, let me go change my categories around really quickly. Adult YA middle grade kids, I'm fine with that. I think I should have female first because I read so many more female authors, and then have male second. That's fine. I read more female protagonists and then male. What was the other thing I was going to change? Format, audio. Why is audio on here twice? Audio. I'm just going to stick audio, physical, ebook, delete, 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 and then I think that's all I care about is audio, physical, and ebook. There's no need for me to have the rest of them because they don't do anything for me. I'm not a diverse enough reader in that way. Oh, that didn't ruin everything by me changing those. That's good. Gender, female. Okay. Okay, where was I at? Female author. Before, when you would change things, it would like destroy your whole spreadsheet and go error, error, error. Urban fantasy. It's a novel. I listened to it on audio. It was narrated by Holter Graham. No. It was 10 hours long? Yeah, 10 hours long. Gosh dang, I should move this over here so I can stop hitting the wrong thing. It was digital. Oh, that's another thing. I should change digital to the top since I do most of my reading digitally. Where's that again? Physical, digital. There we go. Digital. How many pages was this one? 300, so 294. Sorry, this is not very interesting. Wow, there's 13 people here watching me fill out my spreadsheet. What a good use of your time. 2008. Good, I'm reading some backlist books, which makes me happy as well. Backlist. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know. I didn't give it 4 stars. I gave it 3 stars. It's like between a 3 and a 4. So I'm gonna give it 3.5. Like it was on the high end of a 3-star for me. Like I did like it, but it wasn't quite 4. So I will start using half stars again this year, which I didn't last year. It's technically the first book in the series, but I've read a novella and another book for it and stuff. So, out of the Mercyverse, this is the 3rd book that I've read out of the Mercyverse. Yeah. You started to plan yours. You're watching this while you do your own physical planning. Oh, you guys are all so funny. Ugh, this is the best community ever, I tell you. I have the best subscribers on YouTube. Okay, An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole. So, this is one... Dang it, I shouldn't have closed that other thing. Okay, now I need to make it wider. I was not sure how long I could last without widening it. Okay, An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole. I think I listened to 7 hours of this. Let's see. Let's try my daily log again. So I started... Oh no, I was at hour 4. So I only listened 2, 4, 6, 7. So I did listen to 7. Because I listened to the first 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I listened to 7 hours of An Extraordinary Union. Come on, Elizabeth. Do the math for me. It's 320 pages. And I listened to 7 hours. And I finished this one on the 4th as well. Because I started it last year. I did not DNF this book. This book was really good. 240. Bless you. Wait, the protagonists were ensemble. I think Alyssa Cole's American. She is so fast. I just said it. I'm terrible at math. Where is she from? She worked in New York City? I think she's American. Can I just, like, Wikipedia her? Well, some of us aren't very smart. Have you thought about that? Oh no, Alyssa Cole, author. Well, I'm just gonna assume she's American because I'm not seeing anything. Okay, adult. This one, I read so much historical fiction so far this month. Holy cow! Audio. This was narrated on audio by Karen Chilton. I listened to 7 hours. It was digital. It was $2.24. You can tell the total of a purchase with all discounts and coupons and tax applied. That is a crazy talent. I can't do that. That's hecka impressive. That's so impressive. 2017. 4 stars. It started a series. I can barely do basic math. I can't even do basic math. And then I read these 2 little gems. You have 123 unread books on your bookshelf. You could get through all of those in a year easy. And I know some people were a little bit confused about this before. Did I finish this yesterday or did I finish this on the 4th? I feel like yeah, I finished this on the 4th. What am I saying? I'm like, I didn't finish this yesterday. I read it. I'd never read Winnie the Pooh before. Can you believe it? By A.A. Milne. Bless. You wish you only had 123. A male author. A.A. Milne was a dude, right? I'm like 98% sure he was a dude, but oh yeah, he was totally a dude. And he was British. How adorable. Okay. It's very... I guess a male protagonist. Christopher Robin and both Winnie the Pooh are males. Is Piglet a guy or a girl? I'm not sure. I'm just gonna say male. Male. United Kingdom. Middle grade. And I'm gonna say urban fantasy? Delusional fantasy? I'm gonna say that it's a novel. I don't even know. I don't think I even need this novel length thing because I don't think I really care about it, but I'll leave it in there for now. And this was narrated on audio by Peter Dennis. Oh, this one is by Stephen Fry. No, I listened to the Peter Dennis one. And again, I feel like some of you were confused before, so I always round to the half hour. Okay, no, I always round to the hour. So if a book is 2 hours and 29 minutes, it's a 2-hour audiobook. If it's 2 hours and 31 minutes, it's a 3-hour audiobook. And I feel like it balances out pretty well. So like this one is only 2 hours and 46 minutes. I'm going to count it as a 3-hour audiobook. But then if you look at the next book in the series, which is The House at Pooh Corner, it's 3 hours and 12 minutes, so it's a 3-hour audiobook. So they're both 3-hour audiobooks, but the 12 minutes is basically filling in the gap from the previous one. So I feel like they balance each other out pretty well, and that's how I count how many hours a thing is. You should do a video. I would watch it. Christopher, I'm always asking him to help me with like basic calculations, and he's like, it's so easy. And I'm like, well, I'm not the brightest, am I? Please. 145. Publication year is 1926. 1926. And it was a 5-star read. I loved it so much. It's so precious. Oh, so good. Is that silly for me to say that Winnie the Pooh is an urban fantasy? It's fine. And then The House at Pooh Corner. Oh my gosh, I love these. I can't believe I hadn't read these before. And I finished this last night. I was like 20 minutes from the end and I was so tired and I'm like, must finish the book. And I did. You should be proud of me. Again, I'm going to say male and male. The author's from the United Kingdom. It's middle grade. It's urban fantasy. You found the spreadsheet. Did Brock come out with a new one for this year? Yeah, if you go to Brock's Twitter, let's read. It's his pinned tweet right here. Is the 2019 spreadsheet. I feel like my name should be in the credits for that one. I thought it was when I went in. You don't have Twitter. Okay, well, let me open it up and I'll paste it into the chat for you. There you go. There's the spreadsheet, and then just go up to File, hit Make a Copy, and then edit that one to your heart's content. What was I doing? Yeah, I think I'm just gonna get rid of the length, because I don't think I care. It was digital. It's 180 pages. That makes sense. It's a little bit longer than the first one. Published in 1928. It was a 5-star read. I loved it so much. It was an ongoing series, and it was number 2 in the series. And I'm gonna say it's ongoing because there's technically when we were very young, and now we are 6. I'm gonna count as like the full series before I mark it as finished. All right, so there's the 6 books I've read so far this year. The Secret Keeper, I must say, blew my mind. I was not expecting any of the stuff in that, and I really, really hecka enjoyed it. Oh gosh, this is getting all the sun on it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think you should still be able to hear me fine from there. I adored it. It's like historical fiction mixed with modern day mystery. Oh, I think I'm gonna mark it as a mystery rather than historical fiction because it does switch genre, like it does switch from present day to historical fiction. I'm gonna mark it as a mystery. What a good thing. I didn't know it was a mystery going in, but I really loved it. I was not expecting it, and I cried at the end. I really loved it so much more than I thought I would. Mine Till Midnight by Lisa Kleypas. Basically, I think in this one, what really bothered me is that, yeah, so he starts kissing her, and she says no, multiple times verbally says no, like no, stop, multiple times, and he just keeps on kissing her and like touching her, and then he like starts like unbuttoning her dress, and she's like tries to stop him, and so he rips her dress open. But it's okay because it's romantic and they love each other. Oh my gosh. I'm like, why are people okay with this? I have so many friends that have rated this book 5 stars, and I'm like, that scene creeped me out. As soon as he ripped her dress, I was like, DNF. I hate it so much. 1 star. So yeah, there's a series tracking page. I have an old one from a couple years ago. I haven't updated in a while. Last year I didn't use spreadsheets at all last year. I don't even know, is this the one that I was using maybe? I don't know if this was the updated one, but this is how I had it. So I had all these on there, and then at the bottom I would put the ones that I was up to date on and stuff. I don't know. I may use a spreadsheet this year. I may not. I'm not 100% sure. I may just use my own spreadsheet. Let me show you guys what I've been using recently. For this year so far, and we'll also plan out my reading for the week. So let's see, the 2019 challenges. I have my daily log. I have my January TBR. So that might be it. So for my challenges, this is how I did it. I named the challenges up at the top. I should probably put these in bold and make them a little bit bigger so that they stand out. So my romance package challenge. This is the challenge, and then this is the books that I am either going to read or have read for them. These are just ones that I'm going to read, and then below that I also have my romance package challenge for, like, the first one is the one that I'm really trying to focus on this year, and this is genres, and then there's character types, and then below that I put story themes. So that's the first one I'm using. And then I have my fantasy bingo. These are the books that I've already completed for my fantasy bingo. If they're green, I've completed them. If they're not, they're on my list that I'm going to be reading soon. And then for these ones, these are just ideas. They're not technically on my list currently. For my retellings bingo, my retellings, and then the books that I end up reading for them. For my Audible books, these are the books that I've completed, are in the green. The blue means I'm currently reading it. These are the ones that I've drawn out of my TBR, and then these are all the other Audible books that I want to get to in the next few months of the year. And as I get to them, as I pull them out of my TBR jar, then I can just like pull them up and be like, this is the order that I'm going to be reading these ones in, blah, 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 etc., etc. So I'm going to do it and then just try to work my way through them. These are going to be my completed series. I'm just going to put them in this column because I'm not just counting how I do it is I would put the next book that I needed to read in the series, or sometimes I would put all the rest of the books in the series, but for some series that are really long, it's just kind of annoying to do it. So I would just stick the next book and then keep on updating it. And every time you read that next book, then stick the next book and move it down the list and rearrange it. And that's how I did it, and that worked pretty well for me. So for completed series, this is for my personal, I want to DNF, finish, or catch up on 52 series this year. But if I catch up on the same series multiple times in the year, if I catch up on the series and then they release a book and I catch up immediately, and then they release another book and I catch up immediately, I'm going to count it as me completing that series every time because I am, and I'm reading that new book and I'm keeping up to date. And so that's how I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to stick every time I complete a series, just drop it in there. So that's that's what I'm going to do with my completed series. And then started series, just any sequels that I'm reading in general, so I can just see at the end of the year, oh, I have a list of 107 sequels that I read. My unapologetic romance challenge. So, you know, I don't know. I think I was talking about how last year I did the unapologetic romance readers challenge, and I couldn't find that they were doing it this year, and I was really sad, but I'll just do the Audible romance challenge instead. I found it. I found the unapologetic romance readers challenge, which I really, really adore. So I'm going to do it this year, but I'm not going to focus on it. I'm going to just focus on my Audible one. I'm going to focus on my other ones and just add them in as I go. And then maybe in the latter half of the year when I'm done with my Audible books, I can focus on these and be like, okay, now I can like focus and actually work on knocking these off. So for now, I'm not doing anything with them, but I can like mark them off when I've completed the book for that particular one. For an antebellum Civil War Reconstruction romance, I can now stick an Extraordinary Union in there because I've now finished that one, and then I can mark that one off, etc., etc. I don't know. I think I'm gonna try to read her Wallflower series this year. And if I don't love the Wallflower series, then I will give up on her. Because I've heard that the third book in that series is like everyone's favorite romance book of all time. Is what I've heard. So I really want to read that one. But honestly, if I don't like those, and if I don't like her newest one that she comes out with, I'm going to get from the library. The fifth book in the What's Its Face series. Her currently ongoing series. If I don't like those, I'm not giving up on her yet because I have liked some of her books quite a bit, but she's one that I'm considering giving up on. Romance Across the Ages is a challenge that I really wanted to compete in last year, and then I just like fell off the bandwagon. I didn't really read very much historical romance at all. So I'm going to try it again this year. They give 2 prompts each month, and you technically only have to like choose like 1 prompt a month. I'm going to try going with the Mine Until Midnight series if I like some of her other ones more. If I like the Wallflower books and her other most recent book that's coming out in like March. If I like those 2, or maybe February, if I like those 2, then I will continue on with her other books because maybe they'll be hits. But I'm not giving up totally yet. I don't know. I'm really bad at DNFing certain romance authors series. Because with romance, it's like, well, I've liked some books by this author, so how can I know that these specific books are going to be likes or dislikes? I don't know. I'm really bad. Somebody needs to stop me. So the unapologetic romance ones, Romance Across the Ages, they give 2 prompts a month. I'm going to try to do each prompt each month, but I think I may just, whenever I finish any books that fit into those categories, I'll just do them and count them, even though I'm not reading them within the certain technical months that I'm supposed to be. I think I'm just going to count them, because otherwise there's no way I'm going to be able to keep on top of everything. So An Extraordinary Union can technically don't go down here, and it's fine. Everything's fine. And then I have Romanceopoly. So I have the challenges, and I put Romanceopoly on the end so I can stick, like, ideas over here. In my opinion, not. There have been some books that I've really hated and DNF'd, and then I read the next book and I love it, so I don't know. In my experience, no, but it depends on the series. And then I feel like in that case I could always just, like, read a spoiler review of that book, see what happens, and then continue on to the next series if it's, like, really important. So these are the prompts, these are the challenges, and then these are ideas for extra ones. And then I found one more, gosh dang, I closed my YouTube. I found one more challenge that I want to do this year, which, like, again, somebody stop me. I need to be taken in hand. I shouldn't be allowed to book anymore. Okay, let's see, where is it? Well, I can just, like, look it up. I don't know, I'm being so silly about this. It's the... It's a genre-a-thon? Is that how you say that? Spell that? So, 2019 Romance Genre-a-thon. And this is by Steph's Romance Book Talk. And, she did genre-a-thon, and now she's, like, started her own romance genre-a-thon. I think technically you only are supposed to have to read, like, one book, even if there's, like, multiple prompts, but I'm gonna try to get each prompt if I can. So for January, their options are Second Chance, Pregnancy, or Unrequited. So any of the books that fit into those. I'm currently reading a Second Chance book, and if I hadn't decided to participate in this, the book that I'm currently reading, which I'm really, really loving, I wouldn't have picked up because it's a Second Chance romance. It was already on my list, but I might not have gotten to it until later, so I'm, like, really, really pumped that I'm reading it. So I'm like, it just proves that it was meant to be and that I need to do this challenge. So February is African American, March is Irish or Scottish, April is Medieval Victorian Regency, May is Young Adult, New Adult, June is LGBTQIA+, she doesn't have the I in there, whatever. It's fine. July is sports themed, August is sci-fi, fantasy, urban fantasy, paranormal, September is small towns, westerns, frontier, October is dark, occult, immortal, gothic, taboo, November is nonfiction, December is detective, crime, law enforcement, or mystery. On some of these I may just choose one, and some of them I may try to do all of them, but I haven't actually added them into my 2019 challenges yet, so that's why I showed you separately. But these are all the challenges I'm doing, and I feel like keeping them like this will help me keep them straight in my head and see which ones have crossover and stuff. For my daily log, I have not read anything yet today. I technically have listened to 1 hour of The Final Empire with Christopher, and that's it. So, I need to get on reading tonight. I need to listen to 7 more hours tonight, so, not 7 more hours, 9 more hours tonight, so that's fun. And then I'm not totally sure. I think I'm going to take time later tonight to, like, plan out my reading. But this was, like, my initial plan from, like, last week. I've gotten really ahead, though. I've met my reading goal every day so far. By a lot. And, except for yesterday, I only met it just barely. But, in general, I've been meeting my reading goal really well. Yeah, thank you for introducing us. I'm super excited to find another romance booktuber, another year-long romance challenge to participate in. A romance challenge from a booktuber specifically, that makes me really excited, because I feel like a lot of these are from like bloggers or groups, which is really cool too, but like I'm a booktuber, so like I want to support other booktubers, which like not only am I like just excited to do her challenge, but like I'm excited to support another like romance booktuber. And I'm excited to get recommendations from her, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm definitely going to be watching her videos. And then this is my January TBR so far. So this is how I set it up, is I put the date that I finish it, the title of the book, how many hours long it is, or how many hours I will have been listening to it. So like I put 15 instead of 20 because that's how much I listen to of it. I put due dates over here for ones that are due at the library, although a House at Pooh's Corner I have completed, so I can mark that off in green. And then I can delete this. And then I can delete this as well because it's returned to the library. Yeah, these are not all technically just for January. It's kind of like overlap into the next couple months as well, but just like what's on my radar for reading soon. I'm also going to be participating in the Buzzword Readathon, so whatever challenges, I have 2 different things for challenges, but I can extend it to 3 or 4 columns if I need to, if they're counting for multiple challenges. Like, what challenges am I reading them for, and are they standalone, start of a series, completing a series, or just a sequel? And then, yeah, so those are my 3 spreadsheets that I've been using to keep track. Hi, Rar, bye. You're so weird. Judith, I swear your boyfriend thinks he's an animal. Probably a cat. Alright, I think that's everything. I don't know. So far, I know she put up the announcement for the Buzzword Readathon, and the theme word is liar, or lie, or lying, and so I pulled the books off of my TBR that I'm interested in getting to. Probably this year is when I would have gone to them anyway, because like one's a completion of a series, one is a book that Chris challenged me to read, one is a continuation of a series that I'm reading this year, so like I pulled off those books with the word in the title, and then I put them on my TBR for this month. So I'm going to dedicate most of that week to reading lie books. By the way, this is maybe super moochy and all of you guys will go, heck no, but I really want to read Let Sleeping Dragons Lie by Garth Nix on audio, and I would really like to read it for the Buzzword Readathon because it has the word lie in the title. But my library, they do have it, but they don't have, I won't be able to get it until, I think they said a month from now. So I'm not going to get it until after the readathon. If any of your if any of your Overdrives or Libby's have that book on audio and you will let me borrow it, I would appreciate it. But if not, that's fine too, and I'll just read something else instead. But I was just like, dang it, I want to listen to it on audio, and I'm not going to go buy the audio from Audible because my library does have it. I just won't have it in time for the Lie Buzzword Readathon. And I was like, dang it. Gosh, dang it. So, if any of your libraries happen to have it on audio and you want to let me borrow it, I would appreciate it so much. I'll let you borrow some of my library cards too if you want, but I was really bummed out when I saw that. I was like, dang, I'm not going to get it in time. Let me see what my library's saying currently with that book. As an update, Let Sleeping Dragons Lie. They said I will get it in approximately 6 weeks. And that there's 2 people ahead of me in line. So maybe 2 people will just like read it really quickly and return it and let me get it, but I'm guessing probably not. And I will be so sad. So, anyway. Just message me if by next week, because the Buzzword Readathon I think starts next Monday, a week from tomorrow. Next week, if you have that book on audio from the library and you're able to get it and you're willing to share your library card with me, I will love you forever, please, and thank you. But if not, I would still love you forever, please, and thank you. So, anyway, I think that's it for today, though. My neck is starting to really hurt, and I just started feeling really nauseous, so I'm like, oh, that's lovely. Let me go put some stuff on my neck, and hopefully I don't, like, throw up or anything. That would be nice. But the sunshine is getting obnoxious. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about all my least favorite and most favorite and my thoughts on 2018, and I hope you check out the people that I recommended because they're incredible, and I'm gonna go make my neck feel better and pull out some yarn, put on an audiobook, and figure out how the frick to crochet, because I haven't done it in so many years. Like, I know how to crochet, but how to crochet interesting things. So, I'll see you all at 5 p.m. for my live stream. Go rest a bit for the next live. I will. I definitely will. And I'll rest my throat and I'll drink a lot more water. So I'll see you all hopefully in an hour and 40 minutes. Thank you for sticking around and chatting with me. This is one of my absolute favorite times of the whole week. It's so great. Love y'all. See you soon. Bye, everyone.